States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So welcome, everybody. Let's start with the roll call.
All right, here we go. President Scott Horowitz,
I am here.
Treasurer Ed Warner Jr., present. Richard T. Marin,
Here.
Joseph McLaughlin,
Here.
Matt Parsons.
Here.
Present, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you very, very much. Welcome to the folks that are on the Zoom. Just for information, our next meeting will be on March 4th, 2024, 9:30 a.m. work session, followed by the regular session, March 4th, at 1 p.m. We do have some discussions on that Trustee Secretary Treasurer Warner has put on. First one's Cornell University Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County for self-responding and seating.
Greg, would you like to come up and give us
Mr.
a
Greg Rivera.
presentation? Greg Rivera, he's been at the co-op for how many years, Greg?
37.
37.
I've worked with two of your fine trustees.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to race through these slides just to show you what we do on the North Fork in our hatchery and nursery systems in Southold. And we've been working with you for 20 plus years now on this. So we start with phytoplankton to food. We feed our shellfish, go up in volume. This is a continuous system we put in years ago. And we condition broodstock in those blue barrels for about 6 weeks in the winter, late winter, early spring, kind of fooling them to think it's spring, summer. Bay scallop, that's right for spawning. It's the only species that we can kind of look at like that without killing it and see it's ready to spawn. Some clams in the spawn table. The table has a black gel coat so we can see the sperm and eggs. That's a male oyster spawning. It looks like smoke in the water. And the fertilized larvae go in these 100-gallon conical tanks. We've had these have been around since the 70s. Water filtration system. There's a heater on the other side of that wall in a boiler room. Filtration and a UV light on the left, kind of covered in bubble wrap there. That gives us fairly, not sterile water, but very clean water. And it gets put into a 1-micron bag filter, whether we're filling a tank or those conicals. And these are sieves we use because every other day we'll empty those conicals and grade the larvae and get rid of the slow growers or at least segregate them. And that's Mike Patricio, our hatchery manager. He's actually sieving some eggs and sperm into those buckets to remove any fecal material for the oysters before they go into the conicals. This is an eyed oyster larva, or larvae. It looks like a clam here, and most of these species look like little clams when they're microscopic larvae with a transparent shell. That little spot in the middle is an eye spot, and it tells us that they're competent to set. And then, a few days later, that's a larva set on a shell chip, and you can see it's now taken on more of an oyster shape with the clam shell original up in the top. And these are bay scallop larvae that we have. We did our earliest bay scallop spawn ever this January, just last month. We did 2 actually. So these are post-set bay scallops. You can see they're starting to look like scallops. The same idea with that clam shell. Start off and then they go into, once they're out of the conicals, they go into these downwellers, a nursery system fed cultured algae still, heated seawater, filtered. And then once they get kind of big enough and it's warm enough outside, we'll put them in an upwelling system. So in the tank, there's a 3-dimensional layer of seed on a mesh bottom. And water goes in the tank, has to go up through that massive seed to get out. So it's a really efficient way of feeding these things. Raw water, we don't add food to these generally. These are floating upwellers up in Mattatuck Inlet. This is a winter picture. Each pipe has 12 of those snouts that get connected to a 55-gallon drum silo, so it's a bigger version of the upweller in the tank you saw earlier. And there's an ice eater motor at one end. The end that you're looking at is capped off. So when the pump's running, the motor's running, it's trying to suck the water out of those pipes, and that's what it looks like, how it works. This is the Flupsy up in Mattatuck Inlet. Some of the staff running them. So they look like docks. Here's some of the seed we've been providing. Scallops, the caliper set at 1 inch. Some hard clams. Oysters. And that's a partial shipment would be to bring up here. And usually you go with your folks' maintenance crew who've been great over the years. This time we had our own boat and we're doing a separate project on your grounds off of Tiana Beach there, just to the west of this boat ramp. Planting around Swan Island with some volunteers. This is off Cormorant Point last fall. And this is me when I had no hair years ago, with actually Trustee Pell planting. And some of the maps we create for you every year to show you where we put things. So that's off the Coast Guard Station in Shinnecock. Plantings in Cold Spring. More Cold Spring Pond. And this is Bullhead Sabana Complex. Sag Harbor, Cove. And I put this is the last slide, I put this in, that we do more than just the shellfish seed. We'll also work with the trustees on an as-needed basis, usually as part of our agreement, to do population studies. So this was done in about 3 years ago in Tom's Pond by the golf links, golf course. And we've also worked with you folks in Mecox years ago, and also Merchants Bay, doing population surveys, et cetera. And that's not the full report, it's just a screenshot of it. Any questions?
Yeah, we got it, just a couple. Is there any possibility of setting the oysters on macroculture instead of microculture?
Yes. We've been recycling shell and buying surf clam shell for years now, and we do the spat-on shell, but it's usually for building reefs. So we don't, generally, it's not something that people want to harvest because it's a gnarly, gnarly type thing. I know that's what it looks like in Mecox a lot, but we can definitely do that. Is that what you'd want it for?
I'm just, as far as like using it as, we got to decide whether this is a resource to harvest or is this a resource for
Sure.
restocking, and macroculture is a lot better for, a spawning sanctuary for all intents and purposes.
It's creating more habitat too.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Okay. The other question is, and I do have a call out to Wade because I'm a firm believer in utilizing genetics, aquaculture genetics and genetics of oysters that survive in nature are two different. You're growing clams to grow fast and oysters to grow fast. Genetically, we're trying to produce clams and oysters that survive small crab and predation. So I do have a call to Wade concerning us being able to relay the north side of Mecox and or the river for spawning sanctuaries.
Okay.
That's beside the point, but I want to, where I'm going with this is like a notada clam is not necessarily genetics that is beneficial for us.
Well, notada clams, there's two different things going on. There's fast growth and notada. Notada is a shell color. Like an albino person is very rare, and notada is very rare in nature. So we use it as a genetic marker, like a qualitative aspect of our work. So we're catching these red clams. We're pretty sure they're from a hatchery. That's different than fast growth. So there's two different things. And we have brought in white clams. We have brought in wild notadas too that generally aren't fast growing. So I get your point definitely, and I agree with you. We're not the same as a commercial hatchery selling to farmers whose only goal is to get the product out fast. I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Thin shells, fast growth thin shells.
Yeah, I don't want to. I want a hardy oyster that's going to hold up, and a hardy clam that's going to hold up.
And just so we're all on the same page, these programs, and by the way, all towns in Nassau and Suffolk have some kind of resource enhancement project, whether it's a full-blown hatchery or they buy seed and throw it out. But I don't think any of them are meant for a put-and-take fishery. We've been doing this, and I think the other towns do it, as a way to smooth out Mother Nature's ups and downs, right? And hopefully some will survive to spawn that aren't harvested, that aren't predated on.
Okay. And then last and final is the Great South Bay Scallop genetics. Do we have that in the pipeline for this year as your seed stock?
The post set scallops I just showed you are from Merchants Bay rootstock. That's where they're from.
Seems like it's a pretty good strain.
Yep, and it looks different. I know, talking with Trustee Warner about that, they're fatter looking. They're not like a clam, but more like a clam than a flatter scalp that we
I
used
mean,
to on
that
the
could be
north side.
where they're growing is what.
Yeah, it could be.
so-
It's the same
We
species.
don't know, yeah.
Always make sure it's the same species. We're not doing GMO or any weird stuff, bringing stuff from south. It is the same
And
species.
this goes to the last and final point, and as far as the south, and I know there's a real discrepancy with the DEC as far as utilizing anything from down south.
Right,
Let's be real, temperatures are changing, okay?
yeah.
Especially if we're gonna try to utilize eelgrass, and I know you haven't like given a show for the eelgrass, but you're involved in it, and you know, we both know
Yeah.
Chris. We have to transition from aquaculture to mariculture here. Like we have to start to understand that things are changing and we have to move along with them. It's just like the last time we had a clam set in Peconic Bay is when we had draggers in there. I'm not saying I want draggers in Peconic Bay, but it was manipulated whereby a clam set was caught because there was draggers in there. Just like when we finally got spawner sanctuaries, and at the same time we did a dredge project and it promoted a set in Shinnecock. So,
Yeah.
you know, like, let's not say that we got to leave everything be and Mother Nature's going to take its course. But eelgrass, we need a southern strain of eelgrass that's crossed with the eelgrass we have here
Yeah, I hear you.
for warm water.
We've worked with Bassam Alam at Stony Brook, who's a shellfish pathologist for the state, basically. He has a lab at Stony Brook with grad students and does some really good work. So we've worked with him for oysters and hard clams, and my colleagues worked with him with the Bay Scallop project. It was in Newsday a couple of days ago. And we can bring in brood stock from south of New York. We just got to quarantine it. And we've done that. We brought in oysters from New Jersey very carefully in those barrels, and it.
I was thirsty, man. You're playing with fire.
No, well, that's why
Yeah.
when you brought it up.
Yeah, I know.
So we're not just spawning those in the tank. We're actually, everything that we do with them is pumped into our septic system, and it's, the tanks are chlorinated, et cetera. It's not something I'd like to do, but I'm with you on it. I agree. Bring in the southern strains. Now, the scallops down south are a subspecies of our scallop, by the way. You know, it's a
Do they
related.
breed? Can they?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, that's an interesting topic, but definitely for the eelgrass, we're kind of like just planting eelgrass. It's the same, we need a southern strain. I mean, you know what these bays are doing now.
Yeah.
So it would be an interesting conversation to have in further. We don't have to take up this meeting.
Yeah, but Wade is the way to start with that, I think.
Yeah.
Boss. Anything else from?
Well, quick question about the eelgrass. All the eelgrass that we have here isn't all the same eelgrass. Some of it's very fat, thick blades, some of it's very thin, some of it's short. Because I mean, different bays have different eelgrass.
There's at least two species I know of that grows in salt water. And then there's different morphology, like the scallops. They're the same species, but they might grow longer or shorter depending on where they are.
Okay. And just to the point about chip and the scallops, I do know in 85, when we did have the brown tide, 86, 87, they were virtually eliminated. And Mook Clam Farms, yourself, Melanowski, some place up on Cape Cod, that's where our scallop crop came from. So the scallop genetics that we have here are from the northern part of, the Northeast. I don't know how many of those scallops were actually put in Murchis Bay or Great South Bay, as far as, genetics, but I mean, I know harvesting the scallops out of Murchis Bay and Points West, they are very much different looking scallop, just handling them and opening them. So maybe they are a little bit less susceptible to the parasite that's killing them in the Peconics.
Yeah, you can't say that Mauritius is much cooler.
It is, and it's
I
shallower,
mean,
and it's
by the
also-
inlet, which
yeah.
is not much of an inlet anymore, maybe,
Well,
but not the rest of the bay. Yeah.
I mean, we did have a little bit of a harvest of scallops in Shinnecock, but the preceding year, all the scallops we put there, a lot of them, that spawned there, they died. So, it's, I guess each year, like the brown tide, eventually we'll figure some of this stuff out and move forward with it.
I hope so.
So,
Well, even in like the Peconic, the farther west you are versus farther east, the scallops are very different. If you go to the east side of Shelter Island, they're much smaller, meats are much smaller, you know, and it's like just go around the corner and a couple of miles to the west, they get much larger and much fatter meats on them.
Yeah.
You know, they're in the same body of water, but, you know, just a couple miles makes a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as the heat, the temperature in the Peconics, the warmest water is in Flanders Bay. And the last 5 years, they had somewhat of a harvest of bay scallops up there, where from Robbins Island east, virtually the deepest part of the bay, there was almost 100% mortality rate.
Which is
So-
cooler, you'd expect, sure.
Yeah, cooler and deeper water, so what, you know, I'm always asking the
It's
question
not
why.
as simple as people think, including me.
No, it isn't that simple, but.
But wasn't it the lines out in Orion Harbor that are, where you're growing the million scallops in the lantern nets, like, you didn't have the mortality in the nets that you did in the surrounding bays, right?
No, but most of those are outplanted in the fall,
Okay.
after they spawn, to make room for the next year. But you're right, and because they're in the surface, maybe the parasite load is less, surface waters, but it's warmer
Yeah.
than it is 20 feet down, so.
And shell, scallop shell. So we are gonna have some scallop shell from our dump site this year. I don't know if it's something Cornell is gonna be interested in, you know, taking and, you know, using spat-on shell.
Yeah, we tend not to use base scallop shell because it's so brittle and cracks easily, but maybe it's a good thing if you wanted to get a harvestable, to sell them to market. They bust up easier, I don't know.
I just think
But-
it's like, I mean, I don't know about the husbandry on your end as far as dealing with macroculture, if it helps or hurts, but
We've got 4 big tanks
yeah.
that we do, I mean, we have a skid steer, we have a shell washer, we have a
Mhm.
mountain of shell, basically, at our town dump and also on site. So it's possible, we should talk some more about it soon,
And then, yes,
because we're gonna
well,
be.
you also have to get the shell dry.
Shell's been there for over a year, so
Okay,
that's good.
yeah.
We're good with
The-
that.
Season.
The other thing is along the same lines as far as the, you know, the future going on, if we are able to start to utilize some of our embayments that are a larger concentration of our budget with you guys, and I know this is a pain in the neck, and you're gonna be like, oh, we would prefer more scallops as brood stock as we would clams and oysters, because we have a resource of clams and oysters.
Okay,
You know, but it's something just,
it's noted.
but the scallops take a lot of room in the system, so it is a problem. And that's last, correct? Scallops are last in your rotation?
Except for this year. Well, we spawned them already, but there'll be more spawns
Okay.
later in the year. so.
Last year, we did get 200,000 plus scallop, but that was a separate project. that
Right, we didn't do any from our hatchery last year because we had some mortalities
Yeah,
in the hatchery. That was due to a water quality issue, long story, with some of our colleagues that were doing things they shouldn't have done,
okay.
yeah, unfortunately. But we made up with, you know, you've got over 2 million clams, and that's probably worth about $70,000, just the clam seed alone, and then about 100,000 oysters, you know, large 40,
Yeah.
50 millimeter.
I think
oysters.
Chip's trying to say, we want to balance now.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking, the hard clams are doing very well. We got a large population. The oysters are going up, so, I mean, it is the bay scallop that is, you know, in the most dire straits as far as survival, and maybe we can find the answer with the Murchison scallops and early spawn, so, well,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much
Thanks
for all
your
that you do.
Yeah.
Appreciate the collaboration, Greg. Okay. So next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. So we got a notice of public hearing on amendment of Blue Book A340, amending the management and products of the waters of the town of Southampton. Article 1 definitions, boat ramp and 4x4 beach driving permits. So I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Special counsel Joseph Lombardo.
Good afternoon. Okay, these proposed amendments to the Blue Book are designed to clarify who a commercial user of a boat ramp or a dock or a bulkhead area would be under the Blue Book, and it would require the commercial user, that would be like a contractor or somebody who's going to be bringing in a barge or something to that effect, who's going to be utilizing trustee facilities, to obtain a permit and also to require them to be aware that they're going to be liable for any damage the vessel may cause or any of their trucks. This was done at the request of Trustee President Horowitz. Apparently, we've had some situations where there has been damage to trustee facilities, and this is perhaps the easiest remedy that we have. There already is a requirement for commercial users. And we're looking at, with Jessica, to amend the general permit application to require the contractor or the agent to at least identify if there is going to be some sort of vessel utilized in the project that they're getting a permit for.
Okay, any questions for,
Seems reasonable.
And this would be a yearly permit for the use of all of our facilities. correct?
Right, and if the contractor is going to have a sub, his permit will be the one that will be used, and he will be the one responsible for any damage that he or his subs would cause.
So through this process, when a contractor was going to use one of our facilities, they would notify us, and we could send the Bay Marine Patrol down there to do a site visit, making sure that everything is good. And then when he leaves the site, that he could follow up and, make sure that there's no damage, because I know there's a couple instances where contractors had used a couple of our piers and broken off some of the pilings, and we didn't know who did it, and there were people were pointing fingers, so we would have a better handle on,
Right.
regulating this.
And by requiring it in the general permit application process, we're getting advance warning that something is going to happen. And when we get the notice of commencement, that way we can keep an eye on the project a little more closely.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
yeah, so, you do get complaints, you get a lot of complaints at times because people will be pulling in with barges and cranes and be overstaying, for quite some time, which, ruffles the feathers of the local community. And as you're aware, a lot of these piers that we have, they're in, highly constrained local communities, which, it's a necessary activity. You need people to be able to load and unload materials and machinery so that they can do these projects on the waterway. It's just that there needs to be accountability, and it's very expensive. The trustees are spending a substantial amount of money and paying debt service back to the town for the rebuilding of various different facilities. We use permit fees to pay down those bonds. So you need to have a mechanism there where we can keep these things, up to shape and safe for everybody to use. They're for everybody to use. It's a shared resource.
We should also encourage marine contractors with spuds on their barges to utilize the spuds and not our pilings.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah, we do. Absolutely. And that's a good point, because that's exactly what we do. But, with the wind blowing and people maneuvering around and, heavy equipment going on and off, things do happen. And it's just, and then sometimes you get the phone calls and the thing's been there for a week, and it's and people are getting upset. So it's costly, there should be accountability. We should know people are properly insured. We want to know, what's going on. Need better management, So, any other further questions? Anybody on Zoom have any questions relative to this? Comments, questions? No one on Zoom. Anybody in the public here wants to comment on this public hearing? And, all right, well, I guess at that point, perhaps we can close this public hearing.
See, I'd like to leave it open until next meeting and for written comment, and at that point, I think,
14-day.
yeah, our next meeting, the March 4th.
Okay.
And at that point, I think we could close it if we have no input.
Okay, so we must have 2 weeks of written, and then we'll make a decision on March 4th.
Table the resolution.
Correct,
Yep.
correct. Okay, so,
I'll make that motion.
okay, seconded by trustee McLaughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, let's move on to public portion. Anybody on the public that wants to address Board of Trustees on any issue? 3 minutes. Anybody on Zoom? You do? Okay, sir, come on up. State your name, sign in, take your 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. I have blind number 209 in North Sea Harbor, in the cove. I have a picture of it here if you want to look at it.
James, can you pull this up? Let's see how
I've hunted it for 4 years. It seems safer that there's that path that goes to the Conscience Point Rock.
You need to sign and identify yourself.
Oh, okay. My name is Gene Gentili.
What was the number again?
209.
209.
Pull up his name. It's Gentili. Gen. Tile. Yeah.
Eugene.
Maybe you need to refresh the page.
There's a lot of people that use that walking path to walk their dogs and just walk it in the winter, especially a mild winter like we had. Just seems safer to move outside to the point. It's not closer to any elder blinds and shoot into the open bay of North Sea Harbor. Northeast, I put 2 X's on that spot than in that cove. Also, that federal piece is behind me as the ducks fly from the southeast. If I cripple any, I can't, to go retrieve them, I can't discharge a weapon on federal
So
property.
did you make a you want to change your location? You want to adjust your location?
Just adjust it.
So did you make a formal request to do this?
He just spoke with me, on Friday.
Okay, so
Yeah,
probably you need to, formally request it, and then we'll run through our protocols of what we do.
Sure.
And then make a decision on what it is that, we're not gonna resolve this on public portion, but thank you for bringing this to our attention, and then when you officially request, and state what it is, then we can have our Marine Patrol take a look at this and figure out what makes sense for us to do.
we did it.
I think it would, just knowing this location, if he goes through the steps that are necessary, it's probably a good decision, but whatever our protocol is, yeah,
Sure. I
we
just started the
we'll
process.
expedite it,
Well, we'll
Yeah.
just get it into the
And-
system.
yeah,
Get it into the system. Let us do what we gotta do and stick to our our
Yeah.
protocols, but you're welcome to come down and speak to us, and I appreciate you letting us know by giving us a heads up, but we're not gonna be able to resolve that at public portion.
No problem.
You gotta follow that, and what you do is notify the office, or make a call over there, and they'll tell you exactly what the procedure is of what you gotta do to do that, and then we'll take it from there.
The trustee's office.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right,
in Hampton
thank you.
Bays.
All right,
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Anybody else, public portion?
Joe?
Nobody else. Okay, that being said, I'm gonna close public portion. Let's get right into the applications. Okay, Board of Trustees hereby waives a public hearing on the following applications. It's been determined that the following projects do not raise significant degree of public interest, or public input is not needed to aid in the decision-making process at this time. First one's 2024-24, application of FSK Capital LLC, 3 Carter Lane, East Quogue, tax map 900-342-1, there's 16.1. This is a project that we all worked on and looked at work session. I recommend its approval at this time.
I have one comment. The body of water should be changed to Weesett Creek, not
It is,
Shinnecock Bay.
yeah, it's Weesett Creek, which is off of Shinnecock Bay.
Yes, can I make that
Yeah, we can note that, that's just,
noted, please?
it's gonna go by the tax map number, but we can clear
Yes.
that up.
Just want to clear that up, okay?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one is 2024-25. Application to Scott Realty, 5 Carter Lane, East Quogue, tax map 900-342-1-15.1. And again, this is another one that everybody looked at and worked on through the work session process, and at this point in time, I recommend its approval.
Same thing, it should be Weesett Creek, not Shinnecock Bay. I'll second it on that.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Right.
Next one is trustee resolution 2024-26. It's application to Scott Realty. This is another one that's on Weesett Creek. 7 Carter Lane, East Quogue, tax map 900-342-1-14.1. Weesett Creek, which is located off of Shinnecock Bay. Again, project we all worked on, work session, everybody visited this. I recommend its approval at this
Second.
time. Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one, we have 2024-27, Glela 23 LLC, 23A West Tiana Road, Hampton Bays Tax Map 900-255-01-31. It's in Tiana Creek. This is another project that we worked on at work session, meets Blue Book at this point in time. I recommend its approval.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, trustee resolution 2024-28. That's the application of Sunset Equity Holdings LLC, 32 Sunset Avenue, East Quogue, tax map 900-360-02-51.1. Worked on at work session. I recommend its approval at this point.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next one, trustee resolution 2024-29, 17 Leeward Lane LLC, tax map 902-11-3-28. Another one the board worked on in work session, met Blue Book compliance. Recommend its approval at this time.
Second.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2024-30, authorization of the president to sign a contract with Cornell University Cooperative Extension of Suffolk County for shellfish spawning and seeding, as we just had a terrific presentation from Mr. Rivera. I recommend us continuing to work with Cornell. It's been a valuable collaborative effort, and it needs to be continued.
I'll second that, Scott.
Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2024-31, application Thomasia Estrada, 27 Lighthouse Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County, tax map number 900-347-1-31, body of water, Shinnecock Bay. We worked on this at work session. It's compliant to all rules and regulations. I'd like to second on that.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2024-32, application for Christine and Ann Wilding, 6 Mill Pond, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County, tax map 900-321-1-12, body of water, Duck Canal off of Smiths Creek. We worked on this at work session. I recommend its approval. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded by trustee McLaughlin. All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Resolution 2024-33, application for the town of Southampton, Bay Drive underwater land, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County, tax map 900-269-1-46, body of water, Shinnecock Bay. I recommend its approval, and I'd like to see the fee being waived, that it's being done by the Highway Department.
We will absolutely waive the fee, and I will give you my second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Resolution 2024-34, this is application of Bluff One LLC, Bluff in Sag Harbor. Yeah, I believe this is a renewal.
We need to amend this one.
Oh, this,
We need to motion to amend.
yeah, motion to amend this one.
Second.
Okay, give us the amendment.
Or just read this one over, right?
Okay. You want to strike the language in the permit, and you want to
Yeah.
read in new language?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got a motion to strike the
Strike the
language and,
The existing permit.
and replace it
And then
with,
replace it with the proposed single fixed sphere totaling 76 feet, terminating at 60 feet from mean high water, pier to be constructed of through float decking or equivalent, no treated wood to be used, safety ladder, all-weather light to be located at the seaward end of the pier.
okay, so you made the motion, you seconded?
Seconded.
Seconded, trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so, do we need to, we changed the language, do we need to now approve the permit, or we did it all in once?
No, you adopted as amended just now.
Adopted as
Okay,
amended.
great.
thank you, just want to make sure we're square.
You are.
Ahead.
Yeah, 20, this one, right?
Yes.
2024-35.
Yes.
Application of Point Mecox Lane, 88 Point Meacock Lane in Bridgehampton. This is the replace existing dock consisting of 4-foot by 45-foot catwalk. That was gone over in work session prior to my time. So, all in favor?
I'll give a second on it.
Seconded by trustee Warner. Are we all in favor?
Aye.
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 2436 application,
Renewal.
this is a renewal from, yeah, renewal application, 37 Glover Street, Sag Harbor. It's all in order. Is there a second?
I'll give a second.
Seconded by trustee Warner for the renewal of the permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, renewal.
2024-37. This is another renewal permit for SGI Marinas LLC, 50 West Water Street, Village of Sag Harbor. Nothing has changed on the permit.
I'll give a second on that.
Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
2438. This is a renewal application, second, for, again, it's the SGI Marinas LLC, 8 West Water Street. Nothing's changed on the permit. I have a second.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Joseph?
Application 39 and 24. This is a town of Southampton, for the culvert. We just had that today. Discussion today. This is number 900-160, -1-25.
I'll give you a second.
And will we be waiving the fees for the highway?
Yes, we
And we will waive the fees. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Trustee Parsons?
Okay, this is resolution 2024-40, application of Jeffrey and Ilona Roth at 36 Cedar Lane, Remsenburg. I believe this one predates me, but I believe this is also the one I'm supposed to go in. Nope, not 24, not 36. But
Is it all in order?
it seems to be that way, yeah.
James, is it good?
Should be, yeah, you guys had it on the last work session.
We did. Okay, so you're making a motion to approve it, trustee Parsons?
Yes, motion to.
I'll give a
Seconded by trustee Warner. Are we all in favor?
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2024-41, which is application of Kevin E. Young, RT Agreement, 16 Stokes Lane, Remsenburg, New York, body of water Spionk Shore Canal. I get a motion for a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye. Trustee Resolution 2024-42, application of 21 Sandpiper Court LLC, 21 Sandpiper Court, West Hampton, body of water Sandpiper Canal. Can I get a second on that?
Second on that.
Seconded trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next resolution, if I'm correct, is 2023-329.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so this was tabled a few times, and this was the resolution with a request to transfer waterfowl hunting location of permit number 155, Jeffrey Jones, to Eric, how do you say that? Sackleben? Sackleben was received in the trustee's office, whereas the Bay Constable's recommendation is to deny the transfer and terminate this waterfowl hunting location permit number 155 in Mecox Bay, Watermill, New York.
Have we heard from the applicant since the last meeting?
I mean, we've had a public hearing, and we've gotten some letters in. You know, based on my understanding, I'm inclined to make a motion to pass this resolution and deny this and abide by the constable's request to revoke the area. I'm sorry, you want to speak to this?
No, I'm just in case.
Oh, I see a clear public safety issue here has been articulated by the Marine Patrol Unit. And public safety issues are a concern to myself as the president of the board. And that seems pretty clear. So I would make a motion to abide by this resolution and terminate this waterfowl hunting location permit number 155 basis of public safety concerns.
Well, the Bay Constables or Marine Patrol are eyes and ears out on the water, and they do the reviews of these applications before we get them. Any new ones, any old ones that have issues, they do make recommendations that we usually follow through. So I would agree with trustee president and what the Bay Constables had recommend in denying this transfer and terminate the waterfowl location at number 155 Mecox Bay.
So we have a motion and we have a second, and my suggestion relative to this resolution is a roll call vote. So
Good
I'm
idea.
in favor of revocation. Trustee Warner?
Aye.
One moment, please. I believe trustee Marin has something to place on the record.
Yeah, I must abstain to advice of counsel to this vote.
Yeah, I was getting to that.
Okay.
I was working my way down to that. Thank you. Trustee McLaughlin?
Aye.
Aye. Trustee Parsons?
Aye.
And we have an abstention from trustee Marin. Okay,
So it's a 4-1 vote.
4-1.
Well, 4-0.
4-0.
One abstention.
4-0,
With
one
1-4-0
Yep, yep.
abstention, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, the next one is trustee resolution 2024-43, authorize the president to sign agreement with the town of Southampton for Mecox Bay Inlet aquatic restoration. This is about cleaning up stuff that we were talking about in earlier points in time. This is like one of the steps required. So,
I will give a second on this.
seconded trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one, resolution authorizing the Board of Trustees to waive the 2024 commercial aquaculture mooring application fee of $250 for the Peconic Baykeeper.
I'll second that.
Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor? Aye. 2024-45. This is an important one. This is a resolution requesting the town board of the town of Southampton to pass a home rule message requested by Senator Palumbo from Mecox Bay. The New York State Constitution mandates that certain bills require a home rule request before the legislator can act upon them, and Senator Palumbo and Assemblyman Thiel have introduced identical bills. In the Senate, it's number 2156, and in the Assembly, it's 1531 in Albany, memorializing the authority of the trustees of the freeholders and commonalty of the town of Southampton pertaining to Mecox Bay. And where Senator Palumbo, in a letter to the town dated January 29, 2024, requested that the town board pass a home rule request that would allow the proposed legislation to proceed to consideration, and the trustees strongly support the proposed legislation. Now therefore be it resolved that trustees respectfully ask the town board pass the home rule and request that was requested by Senator Palumbo.
Second.
So seconded by trustee McLaughlin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Anything that you can do to strengthen the trustee board and reaffirm the trustee board is gonna be something that's gonna be in the best interest of the environment and the freeholders and commonality of the taxpayer of the town for today and for the generations to come, so, thank you. Trustee Resolution 2024-46, resolution authorizes the president to sign a pre-settlement documents for the Rossi litigation, whereas the trustees initiated litigation in 2019 to regain title to real property erroneously placed in the town of Southampton's tax rules in the 1990s, and whereas the county of Suffolk erroneously sold the property at a tax sale in 1995 to recoup monies paid by the county to the town and other tax districts in the town, and whereas the parties to the litigation have arrived at a possible global settlement that involves the county of Suffolk exchanging the erroneously sold property for another parcel of real property that is available for redemption by the trustees. Now therefore be it resolved that the president is authorized to sign any and all documents necessary to effectuate the exchange, and be it further resolved that the permission granted herein shall not be construed or act as a settlement of or a discontinuance of the litigation, which shall only be authorized by a subsequent resolution of the trustees or the freeholders and commonality of the town of Southampton that fully describes and memorializes the settlement.
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Trustee Resolution 2024-47, I believe I am going to have to table until the March 4th meeting based on our decision to wait for some written public comments. So
Okay, second that.
seconded by trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 47 is tabled. 2024-48, this is an authorization to purchase office furniture. Resolution 1 requires authorizing resolution for any expenditures in excess of $1,000. And we have a resolution on to expend up to $5,000 for office furniture.
I'll second that.
Seconded trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee resolution 2024-49, it's to pay warrant number 2 for $18,293.54. The check roster goes as Be Ready, $10,818.75. Card member services, $2,123.70. Jackson and Dobbs, $485. Joseph Lombardo for $1,200.
We need a motion to amend on that one.
All right, this is where I need a motion to amend the $1,200 check.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. It should be 3,200?
And I needed to read, the motion should read, for Joe Lombardo for $3,200 instead of $1,200. Need a second on that?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. So that's amended. To reflect that, Lopez Equipment, $2,550. Joseph Olivo, James Olivo, $1,250. PSEGLI, $3,144. Riverhead Building Supply, $183.10. Town of Southampton, $63.17. And WB Mason for $112.88. And the total is not gonna be 18,000.
The total is correct.
The total was correct, it was just a Scrivener's
All
error,
right,
yeah.
so the total is correct, okay, with the change, all right, for $18,293.54.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Eddie. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yep. Trustee resolution 2024-50, I need to amend this to read, whereas there's been an additional need for increasing fishing stock line to pay for the stocking for 2023 and 24, and whereas for the trustees board, an additional $45,000 is needed to cover outstanding expenses, and whereas trustees have an available fund balance to appropriate these new expenses, now for it be resolved that the trustees of the town of Southampton hereby authorize the appropriation of fund balance in the amount of $45,000 in the increase the fish stocking instead of striking, we're gonna strike consultant GL to fish stocking, SS 99-87900064560000 for $45,000 for the same amount, and it further resolved the 2024 adopted budget is amended accordingly, and the town comptroller is authorized to make any budgetary and accounting entries necessary to acute. So I recommend its approval as read.
Second.
Seconded by trustee McLaughlin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So what we're doing is taking money from fund balance, feeding it into that GL so that we can clear up the deck. Take care of shellfish stocking,
Yep,
right? So we do shellfish stocking and we do finfish stocking too.
yep.
Okay, next. I think we're good, right? We've had a lot of discussions. Is there any more discussions needed during the meeting here today with all the discussions?
Yeah, I do have one quick discussion.
You got one.
I have met with Mark Matthews at Conscience Point Oyster Company, and a couple of the local baymen that have boats in the harbor on moorings would like the trustees to establish a 6 or 8 spot pole mooring just north of the Conscience Point launching ramp in order for them to tie dinghies up so they can access their commercial boats. So I said I'd look into that, and if the board was gonna be favorable on it, I would ask to have a public hearing and put some kind of value on the mooring.
Right.
You mean like the old school ones?
The old
push
school,
pull ones?
yes,
Yeah.
the ones like in Noyak and
That's all we ever had.
Pull into
No one
Cuddy
had-
Hunt.
No one had trailers.
So, yeah, so I was asked to do that, so if we're gonna look favorable on it, I will meet with our council and draft a resolution for a public hearing so that we can move this forward.
I think we should have a public hearing.
And then we could put a nominal fee on
Right,
the mooring area.
right.
They
So,
got a bunch of pound trap poles if they need them.
Okay,
right, so let's do this. The first step then is you need to do a resolution to schedule a public hearing, and then we can
Yep.
talk about it with
Yep.
council all over the
Yep.
place here,
So
right?
can we look for
Next,
What do we think the fee should be, roughly?
what's that?
What do you want the fee to be?
I don't know, it's just something that we're gonna need to discuss during the public hearing.
right,
process.
that'll go through that process. I think what we
Yeah.
need to do now is figure out what date would be appropriate to schedule a public hearing for.
We could put the resolution on for, March 4th,
For a public hearing,
to schedule the public
Right.
hearing
Just hit-
for the second meeting in March, which is March 18th.
okay, so that's really the next call of business.
That
And
works
then we would
good.
have to amend the fee schedule if there was gonna be a fee.
Yeah.
that
Of
was
course we would.
Different, yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
Yep.
It's creating a new,
New program.
yep,
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
mooring, there is still language of that kind of mooring in the
So
mooring
it-
application.
Right, so they
Yeah,
may not
well,
have to do that. It
Yeah.
may just be,
Yeah.
I mean, you still, there's still, like, when you,
pole moorings, we have
Pole
them in
moorings is-
Noyak, we
yeah.
have them in Mill Creek.
so the language is there already.
All right, so
so that may save a step, but I think you still need to have your public
I'll
hearing.
definitely want a public hearing,
Yeah.
because I
Okay.
want,
That may save a
Advise the
step
public.
on the other
Great.
stuff, but,
Yep.
Excellent.
and Woolly Pond
Council
also
can
has
look
them
at
too. Yep,
Yep, okay.
okay.
all right, so that's,
So we'll look for.
that's the direction to go.
I need a second for the public hearing on
Second.
what? Putting it
Well,
on.
no, that's,
Putting it on-
well, no, it'll go on. No, we don't
Okay.
need to do that.
Okay.
That'll be on that day when that resolution
Okay.
pops up on March 4th. That's when you do the second for that.
Okay,
Yeah, that's,
all right,
that's,
thank you.
We'll sit down with
It-
Joe and Stephanie.
yeah,
Yep.
that's when that
Sounds
gets
good.
done.
Okay,
Is there any other discussion? Because I think we have a little bit more exec to go and other requests throughout the building to check on. So if there's nothing more, it's been an active day.
yes.
You good? Then I will make a motion to wish everybody a very safe day tonight and tomorrow. I think we're expected to get some more bad weather into our region. No surprise, we've been getting beat up by weather lately, so everybody be safe out there. And I would like to make a motion to adjourn
And going to the
and go into exec session for discussion of personnel and litigation.
second.
Seconded by trustee Warner, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.